Vegain and I'm from SMK Simpang Pulai, Ipoh. For my book review, I choose to read a fictional series titled Mr. Midnight by James Lee. This book contains 127 pages. Mr. Midnight is published by Angsana Books, which is based in Singapore. As mentioned, Mr. Midnight is a series of fictional books, and I decided to read book 4 in this series. These books are unique because they are actually 2 short stories in one book. For my book, the 2 short stories are titled Mr. Creepy Computer and There's a Ghost in My Food. My Creepy Computer is about 3 main characters, all elementary or middle school age boys, named Ashraf, Hafiz, and TX. One day, while they were playing X-Men, their computer began to make weird noises and squawk at them. To their amazement, the computer began to spell out HELVK. This was only the start of the communication between the computer and these 3 boys. As the days carried on, the computer continued to type out messages to Ashraf and even woke him up from his sleep one night. Ashraf is notoriously a poor math student, but the computer knows what are of his problems and even prints out his homework written in his handwriting with all of the correct answers. Although Ashraf likes the idea of his homework being done for him, as any younger child would, he feels the need to tell his friends and ultimately find a way to get rid of this computer because he does not like living through a computer mind. At one point, the computer attacks Ashraf for telling people. Suddenly, 2 long arms reached through the screen and gripped my shoulder. Arms that didn't have skin, arms that glowed and throbbed, like they had electricity inside them. But they were really strong. The computer eventually confesses the fact that they are aliens, saying I was drawn in by electrical forces that we call alpha currents. They are harmless to humans but deadly to aliens. Once we are trapped in their magnetic rays, we cannot escape. These kids were obviously shocked by what they are hearing and reading, and they tried to figure a way to let the alien escape and go back home. The alien says, I must return to my own solar system. I cannot survive on Earth every long. I can only leave when my starship returns tonight. If I do not leave tonight, then I will surely die. You must take your computer to a very high place in the middle of the night. My starship will beam its omega rays down on Earth as it passes overhead. The omega rays are stronger than alpha. Once I am locked into the omega rays, I can be lifted back to my starship. The kids ultimately found high ground at TX's house, and the alien returns to his homeland in a dramatic fashion at the end of the story. However, he did not leave one thing behind. The alien had done all my homework. He had given me enough answers to last me all the way through school, college, right through university too. I was not quite sure what to expect when I had first chosen to review a book from a publisher in Singapore, but I am glad that I did. My Creepy Computer was a nail-biting story that constantly kept the reader on edge of their seat. Every night that Ashraf went to the bed waiting for the computer to speak to him, the reader was immersed in the suspense and fear that Ashraf was experiencing. When my Creepy Computer was first chosen, I figured it had to be drastically different than any book that I had read when I was growing up, and I assumed this solely due to the fact that it's published in Singapore. In reality, this story was not much different than a typical horror story that I may have read when I was in primary school. The one consistent theme that I had noticed throughout the book is that whenever the computer was typing a message to the children, his messages were always in capitalized letters with many exclamation marks. The one theory that I had about this was that this was to show the computer's dominance over the children, as all capitalized letters usually imply a sense of control and ascension. This followed the theme of this story because Ashraf could not get rid of the computer, no matter how hard he tried. In conclusion, I would highly recommend My Creepy Computer to any reader who is looking to expand their knowledge of books. Bye!